Eclipse season may be coming to a close, but the astrology is not letting us off easy just yet. On October 6th of 2025, we'll be hit with a full supermoon in the sign of Aries, an energy so raw and so impulsive it can feel almost as intense as the eclipse season itself. Supermoons are not ordinary full moons. They magnify everything, our emotions, our reactions, even the events that are unfolding around us. And this one is about to light a fire under us all. Supermoons happen when the moon is much closer to the earth and much larger in the sky, and it has a much bigger pull on not just the gravity of the earth, but also on our emotions, our reactions to things. I've been creating forecasts just like this one for over 9 years now, and I can tell you from experience that supermoons are the full moons you feel the most. One of my teachers, Lynn Coiner, even calls them crisis full moons because they stir emotional tipping points that demand action. Back when my husband worked in the emergency room, these were the full moons that I'd always warn him about in advance. And sure enough, they always brought the busiest nights and the wildest cases. But here's the thing, it isn't all chaos. In the sign of Aries, this supermoon carries the potential to spark breakthroughs, courage, and momentum toward your biggest goals. If you know how to work with it, this energy can propel you forward instead of knocking you off course. In this video, I'll break down how this Aries supermoon is likely to affect us collectively, plus a forecast for all 12 signs so you can harness the fire and not get burned by it. And at the end of this video, I'll be sharing a preview of the upcoming new moon in Libra, which brings its own powerful twists with Jupiter and Chiron in the mix, so you don't want to miss that. But before we get into it, if you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update. I upload new videos, tutorials, forecasts, all about astrology all month long, and so make sure that you stick around for that. And if you like this video, like it and comment below and let me know how the full moon is affecting you right now. All right, so let's get into the general forecast for the Aries supermoon. And I need to start by just explaining what the heck is a supermoon. So I mentioned at the start of this video that the supermoon occurs when the moon is closer in proximity to the earth. It therefore elicits a stronger gravitational pull, and it's much larger and brighter in the sky, especially at the time of moonrise. That's when you see it huge and bright on the horizon. These supermoons they don't just have a bigger pull on physical things, they have a bigger pull on our emotions because the moon rules over our emotions. And these supermoons tend to bring about things in a way where it doesn't just amplify it, but it accelerates it. It's kind of like it's pulling things up and bringing them out to manifest at lightning speed. So a lot of things that have been moving toward culmination will culminate often all at once at the time of the supermoon, which can be part of what elicits that crises, that supermoon crises. The crises can be external because things are happening and coming up and just floating into our life all of the sudden that we have to deal with, but it can also be internal because our emotions are heightened. And with Aries, our emotions become very intense, very volatile, very passionate, and very impulsive. People become way more reactionary already under an Aries moon or an Aries full moon. Add that super moon crisis energy to it, and people are going to be emoting all over the place. People are going to be reacting rather than responding to these situations that are all coming to a boiling point at once in their lives and in the collective. And so this is a time where emotions run high, and you want to have an awareness of that, especially if you do have to deal with emotionally turbulent situations, or you have to deal with maybe a tricky situation with somebody where things could get a little dicey already, where maybe you have to have a difficult or emotionally charged conversation. If that's the case, if you can hold off, maybe do that. But if it's coming up right now, and it's coming up for a reason because the full moon is pulling it out into the open, then this is a time to be tactful. Take your time and don't become offended or taken aback if somebody reacts impulsively to what it is that you have to share with them. People are going to be a little bit more volatile. This is also a time where the moon is in Aries, so there's an impulse to do something. People are going to be acting on their emotions very quickly, very readily, very rapidly. This is a time where people want to do something about how they feel. They don't just want to feel it. They don't just want to express it. They want to channel that emotion into some sort of concrete action. And when the emotion is something really passionate and really enthusiastic and really optimistic, because those are all very Aries things too, then that can be wonderful. But under the supermoon, there could be this energy of just being more easily aggravated, being more easily angered, quick to anger. This could be an energy of doing something impulsive because your emotions are running high. And so that's where things can get a little bit dicey. This is also a very competitive energy. And so you might want to take action to squash the competition or to prove that you're better than somebody else. That could also cause problems and lead to some sort of crisis moment as well. And so think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So at the time of this full moon, things are going to be coming up. You're going to have to take action on them. You're going to want to take action on the way that you feel about something. But is the way that you feel about something healthy or unhealthy? Is what you're about to do impulsive, or is it something that has reached this boiling point that you've known you needed to do for quite some time, and now it's coming to this point of fulfillment? These are questions that we should all be asking ourselves as we come into this more volatile energy. And so, as I mentioned, one of my teachers calls this a crisis full moon. I believe that that is the best description of these types of supermoon energies, especially in the sign of Aries. It's a largely unaspected full moon. It has a pretty wide square with Jupiter, a pretty wide conjunction with Chiron. These things are not super prevalent in terms of their energetic influence on the full moon. And so if nothing else, I would say that T-square that the sun and moon are making with Jupiter, even though it's wide, could amp things up and cause people to overreact even more so, especially when there's some sort of crisis coming up. And the crisis is not always external. I know I keep saying that, but often it's an internal battle with our own needs, our own anger, our own impatience with the process, where we want something to come to fulfillment because it is that full moon, it's that culmination. We expect it to manifest, and it's just not happening as quickly as we want it to. It's not happening on our timeline. It's happening on its own timeline. And that can lead us to push things to come about prematurely. And when they're not fully ripe, they're not fully ready. And again, that can lead to mishaps and mistakes. And so just be very aware of your actions and whether these actions that you're taking are maybe a little more than what they need to be. Is the thing that you're trying to push forward with ripe? Is it ready? Is it actually time? Or are you trying to force it to happen because you feel like it needs to happen for some other reason? Because somebody told you, or because you feel like you're behind, or one thing or another? Like, does it actually need to happen right now? That's a big question at the time of this full moon. So Mars is the dispositor of this full moon in Aries. It's the ruler of the full moon. And luckily, Mars is in its home sign of Scorpio. And so this can make it so we can direct our actions a little bit more intensively in a way that's very focused and very purposeful. And so this is a moon about getting things done. Your emotions paired with your willpower and your intuition can take you very far around the time of this full moon. And speaking of Mars being in the mix, this full moon can elicit something that we need to take action on that's going to come about a little bit more easily later on in the month of October, because we do have a couple of grand trines forming. The one that I am particularly excited about is the grand water trine between Jupiter, which is exalted in the sign of Cancer, Mars, which is at home in the sign of Scorpio, and Saturn, which is not necessarily at home or doing anything special in the sign of Pisces, but it does give staying power. This is about being able to take advantage of an opportunity that we really need to take hold of and really sticking it out and seeing it through. This is about focused action, and it's not going to come about passively because of this Mars influence, because of this Saturn influence, but Jupiter is going to make sure the opportunity shows up. And so this could be some sort of crisis or some sort of thing that comes up that requires us to take action that will lead to something even better, even greater, because we'll be prepared for the opportunity that comes up later in the month of October. So what is this full moon energy good for? how long is it going to last? So basically, I would say about 3 days before, 3 days after the 6th of October, that's going to be the peak energy of this supermoon. Because it's a supermoon, you might be feeling it a little bit earlier than that and for a little bit later than that. And definitely the fallout or the repercussions of what happens at the time of the full moon will be more long lasting than just 3 days. But the peak of the activity, the peak of the action is centering around the 3rd through the 9th of October. And this is a time to use our emotional energies, the things that trigger us and that come up in us, as a fuel to recommit ourselves to following through with something that we've already set in motion, or set in motion something that we've been needing to set in motion that we really are behind on. This is a really great time for engaging in follow through on important projects, on personal growth, on things that we're really passionate about. This is about channeling our feelings into deliberate, constructive action so we can manifest what we want to manifest instead of reacting to things impulsively. This is an excellent time for profound breakthroughs, big transformations, and doubling down on meaningful goals. This is a very motivated energy. So if you've been lacking in motivation, if you've been struggling with procrastination, if you've been struggling to get things going, if there's something that you know you need to bring to fruition that you've been working on and haven't actually pushed all the way through, this full moon could be the catalyst you need. It can bring that emotional motivation. It can bring that feeling and that passion back into the mix so you can finally push forward with the thing that you've been needing to push forward with. So that is my general overview, my general forecast for the full moon in the sign of Aries. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video if you want a sneak preview of what's coming up on October 21st for the full moon in the sign of Libra, and that grand water trine I alluded to. That's going to be happening really strongly around that time too. It's going to be a very interesting energy. I actually really like the energy for the second half of October. It's one of my favorite time periods for the entire year in 2025. Thank goodness, because we've been put through the ringer. And so I'm going to get into the forecast for all 12 signs, but before I do, make sure you download my Astrology 101 quick reference guide if you haven't already done so. This is my full guide to understanding all of your natal chart placements, dissecting the birth chart, and figuring out what it all means. This is going to help you to get a lot more out of these general forecasts that I do, including this one. So make sure you download that so you can understand your natal chart placements a lot better. And also also make sure you listen for your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the next 2 weeks-ish ahead. Your rising sign is going to be the most predominant energy. Your sun sign is going to be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy is more internalized and subjective. All right, so let's get into it, beginning with Aries and Aries rising. So for Aries and Aries rising, of course, this is in your sign. So this is bringing about a crisis of culmination in many different areas of life. For you, you're going to feel much more energized. Your energy is going to be much more volatile. Your emotions are going to be much harder to keep under wraps. And so even if you are somebody who is more cool and calm under pressure, even though you're an Aries, maybe, your moon's in Capricorn or something, you're not going to be that way or feel that way around the time of this full moon, especially between the 3rd and the 9th of this month in October. This is a time when you're going to have a very hard time hiding how you feel. The way that you feel is just going to come out. And the emotional crises that comes up for you is going to be caused by you. That's a big thing when you have this full moon, supermoon energy in your first house. And so it could be that you overreact to something. It could be that you finally tell someone how you feel and it blows up a little bit, or it becomes a little dicey, or it could be that you finally just get the motivation to do the thing that you've been needing to do for a really long time, to finally see through a really important project. Whatever it is for you, you're going to have the energy to do it and the motivation to do it. This is a culmination point where you are front and center, and you are going to be kind of in the spotlight. Like, people are going to be looking to you. You could get some sort of recognition even around the time of this full moon. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this full moon is actually happening in your 12th house. This is not the most active full moon energy for you, Taurus. Normally, full moons are this time of culmination where you're out and about and you want to be doing more things and people are more active and energized and there's just a lot happening and coming to fruition. For you, this full moon is a culmination of a need to rest, a need to take a step back, a need to focus more on your internal world. This is about taking action in the subconscious realms and in the spiritual realms, maybe following through with some sort of spiritual practice, maybe following through with some sort of creative project, maybe following through with going on that spiritual retreat finally, or that just rest and reprieve that you need. That could be a big part of this too. I would say for Taurus rising people, your sleep might be affected more so than other signs. For you in particular, there could be very interesting dreams that could be intended to lead you somewhere, to motivate you to take action on something that you've been needing to finish or follow through on. That could be a big part of this too. If you have been experiencing health issues, or if health has been a big focus, answers can come to you through meditation or through altered states of consciousness or sleep. And so that's a really important thing to focus on. Make sure you're getting rest, but you're going to be restless while you're resting, because so many messages, so many ideas, so many energies are going to be coming to you during that time. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this full moon is happening in your 11th house, Gemini. This is a very social full moon, which as a Gemini, you'll probably really like. There could be some sort of big emotional crises that comes up involving a friend, or it could be that there's a friend that overreacts to something, or that is having some sort of crisis or having some sort of strong emotions, and you have to come in and help them, to support them, to be with them, or to just take them out for a night on the town. That could be a big part of it too, Gemini. There could be a new friend that comes in, or there could be a situation with a friend that you've been needing to take action on, or with a group of people or a social situation that you've been needing to carry forward, you've been needing to take action on. And finally, now you get the motivation, you get that push, you get that just powerful energy that leads you to finally take care of the thing that you've been needing to take care of. If you're on the receiving end of somebody's like just reactionary, over the top emotional expression, especially when it comes to a friend, make sure that you take the time to take a breath, think about what's happening here, and respond rather than react to what's going on in this situation. In that way, you'll be able to keep this friendship. And this is also a time where if there's something that you've been wanting to do with a friend, the motivation is there, the stars align, as they say, and you're able to finally set things in motion. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this full moon is happening in your 10th house, Cancer. So this is a big time for career and public reputation. A big career goal could finally be coming to fruition. You could get a job offer. You could be in the spotlight, maybe not just in your work, but in your life in general. People are looking to you. You could get some sort of recognition for something. A big goal of yours is finally manifesting. You're finally seeing it come all the way to fruition. You're finally seeing it. You're seeing what you've been building toward for quite some time. And it's a really good feeling, I would say, to actually see things manifest after you've been putting in all of this work, all of this labor. This is going to really motivate you to keep going. This is going to really motivate you to take the next step, or to take your career or your ambitions to the next level. And so I love this for Cancer. This could also be a time that could be really fruitful for applying for a new job, getting a new job, putting something out there, launching something if you are somebody who runs a business. So I love this energy for career, actually. There could be some sort of crises, but the crises would probably be more so that there's so much happening all at once, Cancer, that it feels like a lot on your plate when it comes to your work, when it comes to your public reputation, when it comes to the mark that you leave on the world. Even if you're not somebody who's working, this is about your legacy, and this is about all eyes being on you and the work that you're doing. For Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of the beliefs that shape and frame your reality. This is going to give you a fresh new perspective on everything that you've been going through over these past few months, Leo. And so this could be actually a really good thing. I like this energy for Leos, especially if you're a Leo anywhere from let's say 9 to 19 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most and the most positively. This is going to give you a lot of energy, a lot of motivation. This is a really great time to embark on an adventure. This could be a time where some sort of travel plans finally manifest, or you finally get that push to see it through and to book that flight. This could also be something coming to fruition or being made manifest involving education, or involving teaching, or involving sharing your beliefs with the world. There could be something really important here, a mindset shift or a shift in your perspective that changes something, that causes you to finally double down on your education or your learning, especially in the religious or philosophical realms. I really like this for maybe like if you're somebody who teaches, or you do podcasting, or you're writing a book. This would be a time to really kind of start following through and getting things going, because you're going to be feeling really motivated. There's a lot of energy for it. There could be some sort of emotional crisis that comes up involving a teacher or involving travel. But for you, Leo, I think this is going to manifest in a way that's a little bit more positive. But definitely this is a time where travel is a potential, and that could be something really exciting, really fun for you. It could come up really quickly. It could be like this impulse, like I just need to go and I just need to be in this place. And I think that would actually be a wonderful thing for you. Leos have my blessing on that one. Not everybody does. And then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. For Virgos, this full moon in the sign of Aries, the supermoon in the sign of Aries, is happening in your 8th house. For Virgos, this crisis full moon could feel a lot like a crisis. There's something going on here that's going to be very triggering to you when it comes to past fears, past traumas, past anxieties, old experiences that have left their mark on you and that are still controlling you in the present moment through that fear, through that that residue that these really difficult life circumstances always leave on us, where even when we think we're over it, something will come up and it'll remind us of that time, or it'll trigger some anxiety. This is one of those moments where what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, it's very real, but it's not tied to the present circumstances and the present threat. It's not like the fears that you're having are proportional to what's actually going on in the moment. They're probably not. They're probably based on an old experience that your body, that your nervous system has not let go of. And the events that are transpiring right now could be bringing that up and causing you to feel a little uneasy. If you're someone who's prone to anxiety, you might feel more anxious around this time. This is also a really profound time for healing. The thing that's triggering you, the thing that's coming up, is showing you something that you need to work on, that you need to work through. Maybe you need to seek therapy or counseling. Maybe you need to seek some sort of deeper healing modality to release the trauma from the past, to release these emotions that you're experiencing. This could also be something that comes up for you, Virgo, that involves money and finances. There could be something that finally manifests or comes to fruition involving a financial payout, like an insurance payout. Your partner could make more money. There could also be an emotional crisis or some sort of argument or something going on around resources and money in partnership, especially if you are somebody who's married or in some sort of business partnership. But just know that the reactions are disproportionate to actually what's going on. So everything in this situation is overblown. The emotions far exceed the reality, the objective reality of the situation, if there is something difficult going on. But this could also, for a lot of Virgos, be like money coming in or a financial prospect that's finally there where you can take action on it, where there's like something that you've been wanting to invest in or do financially, or maybe even a big purchase you've been wanting to make, and the motivation is finally there and you're starting to move in that direction. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon in the sign of Aries is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. This is potentially some sort of big emotion happening in your partnership. So if you are somebody who's married or in a long-term partnership, there could be heightened emotions. There could be things that are over-exaggerated, overblown. The reaction to whatever it is that's going on in your relationship is going to far exceed the objective reality of what is actually happening and what the facts are. So that's something to just make note of. But this could also be something really important in a partnership or that you're doing with somebody else really coming to fruition and finally being made manifest, and you feeling motivated, you and your partner feeling motivated to take things to the next level. It doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship crisis of some kind. It could be more like the fire is lit under you and the emotions are high because you're finally diving in. This is also a more passionate time in relationships. And so that could go one of two ways, right? It could go the fun way or it could go the argument way. And so it's up to you and your partner to figure out how to channel this in the most healthy way. This could also be a new relationship coming in. The way that you feel about this person, the way that this person feels about you is going to be overblown and over exaggerated. It could, again, go either direction. It could be extreme passion or extreme hatred if you meet someone new. And later on down the line, when it kind of calms down, it's not going to be that extreme like it is right now. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, sorry for the sudden jarring outfit change. I realized as I was going through and editing this video that somehow I forgot my own rising sign. So for Scorpio rising, this full moon, this supermoon in Aries is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. And yes, I know what you're wondering. Could this bring about some sort of health crisis? Unfortunately, I have to say, yes, it could. However, this could also bring about a profound healing experience. And if there is a crisis that comes up, the emotional component, the reaction internally to the situation at hand is going to be far overblown to the actual reality, the actual risk, the actual problem that's going on within your body or with somebody else who might fall sick. Like I said, if this is the case, this is leading you to a profound healing experience. The crisis that's coming up, the healing crisis that's coming up, is showing up because you need to understand something. It's illuminating something about your health that you couldn't otherwise see, so you can change it, so you can shift it, so you can motivate yourself to do different things moving forward that support your body, that help you to heal much more quickly. This is also a really energizing time for a lot of Scorpio risings. And so if you are somebody who is in very good health, which you probably will be for most Scorpio rising people, this is a time where you're going to feel much more energized, where you could dive into maybe not a new workout routine, but you might be feeling more motivated to continue forward or to take things to the next level with a type of physical activity or exercise that you already do, that you're already invested in. This is where the momentum leads you in a new direction with the type of physical activity you're already comfortable with and you're already excited about. This also could be something that comes up involving having to take on maybe a caretaker role or a caregiver role because somebody is sick in the home, like somebody has the flu or something like that. This could also be a big new energy coming in or a culmination coming in involving pets or animals. That's something that I always like to emphasize in the 6th house because so many of us have pets that we love and that we cherish and that are part of our families. And so with this 6th house energy, there could be, if you've been thinking about finding a new pet or a new companion, that's something that could come in. This could be a really active time for you and your animals where maybe you're going on hikes with your dog or something really exciting is going on. There could potentially be some sort of emotional crises involving animals, but again, it's going to be where the internal experience is not equal to what's actually going on. So it's like you're worrying over nothing, or yeah, there's a little bit of an issue, but it's way overblown in your head or in the way that you're reacting to it emotionally, the way you're feeling about it. That would be more intense than what's actually going on in reality. There could also be a big work-related project that's coming to a culmination and you're finally pushing it through. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of activity going on in your day-to-day life and your day-to-day work experience where that becomes more intense. There could be a big energy coming up involving some sort of emotionally charged communication that you need to have with an employee or a coworker, but especially an employee if you're somebody who is in a management position or owns a business, and that could be coming up, and it could be something that needs to be dealt with, but again, it could be overblown. So just make sure that you are taking your time and being tactful in the way that you address it. And even if you're not somebody who employs other people in the workplace, like you're not a manager or a boss of some kind, you still employ people in your day-to-day life to do services for you. The sixth house is not just the house of employees in an office building. It's the house of your mechanic. It's the house of the guy that mows your lawn. It's the house of the dude that comes and fixes your plumbing when it's broken. It's the house of anyone that you hire to do a service. And there could be the need for something like that this week. And it could be, again, a situation where if there's tension that comes up around it, it's overblown. But I do think that this could be an opportunity to find someone or to hire someone that could really help propel things forward that you've been procrastinating on or waiting on. So if you've been waiting on getting the car fixed, if you've been waiting on having somebody come in and, check your wiring or whatever the heck it is that you need to hire someone for, this could bring up the right person, or it could bring up a situation that forces you to finally find the right person. And then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your fifth house, which is the house of joy and fun and things that you love to do. This is all about you doing things that just make you happy, that bring you joy, that bring you pleasure. This is a really wonderful time for you to get out there, to go have a night on the town, go out dancing, go out somewhere, do something. Because for you, Sagittarius, I would say this is a more positive energy. This full moon is going to be trining your ascendant sun or moon, especially if your ascendant sun or moon is anywhere between 9 and 19 degrees. You're going to be feeling this the most. You're going to have a really intense creative burst for some of you where you want to actually go and do something or make something or create something. This is a really great energy for engaging in play or connecting with your children if you have any. I would say if you do have children, they might be a little over emotional right now. There could be some sort of situation that gets escalated, and the reaction to what's going on, I would say the children's reaction to what's going on, like their emotions are heightened and they're disproportionate to the situation. And that could be a little bit difficult, trying, that could be a little bit of a crisis, but it could also be something coming into this point of manifestation where it's culminating, involving something that your children are doing or trying to do or trying to achieve or trying to accomplish, and you're able to help them get there. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your fourth house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. Emotions are running high in your home life. This is a time where maybe you've been focused a lot more on your career, on your external reality, on your goals, on your ambitions, and now you're being pulled down to focus on what's going on behind the scenes to get your house in order. This could be a time where if there is a situation with a family member that's been left unresolved, that it could kind of turn into this big blowout where it could become this overinflated, over-exaggerated thing that it didn't necessarily need to be. And so if something is coming up and something really needs to be addressed with your parents, with your family, in your home environment, this is the time where you do need to address it, but just check yourself first and make sure that the way that you are handling it, the way that you're speaking to these people, the way that you are going about this situation is not overblown. You're not feeling like overly intense about it. You're giving yourself space and time to respond rather than react to whatever it is that's been weighing on you, that you're finally like, I need to tackle this. I need to deal with this. This could also be a big project involving your home or a big move or, something involving making changes to your home where it's been ongoing and now you're like, I'm going to finally see this through. I'm going to finally make it happen. And so that could be a big part of this too. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your third house, which is the house of community. It's the house of your neighbors. It's the house of your immediate surroundings and environment where you live. And so this could be where there could be something going on where your neighbors are a little all in a tizzy. But this could also be a really great time where a big community project comes to fruition. This would be a really great time where something culminates if you are involved in doing something with or for your community. This is also an energy where maybe if you've been looking to purchase a vehicle or travel or change something about your commute, that could come up and that could come to fruition very quickly. This isn't the worst energy for Aquarius. It's definitely a little softer than some of the other signs. And so I would say this is more about motivation. Your brain is going to be on overdrive and you're going to be speaking from a place of emotion rather than rational thought, very impulsively. Already you're somebody who says what's on your mind and maybe says it bluntly or in a way that could be a little bit more shocking and impulsive to begin with. But this is where the way that you feel is going to be coming out in your conversation and people are going to be picking up on it. This is maybe a time where you need to share your feelings a lot more, where maybe you would be holding back on discussing these types of things with certain people. Now you're talking about it. There could also be some sort of big energy that comes up around your siblings. If you have any, where all of a sudden they're back in your life, they're back in the forefront of your consciousness, you're connecting with them for one reason or another. And it could be that they're having some sort of an emotional crisis and you're somebody that they can lean on and help deal with that. There's also something maybe with some education or some learning that's coming to fruition here, where you're finally feeling motivated to see it all the way through, or to write that podcast, or to start that thing where you're sharing information in some way. All of these things are possible for Aquarius. And I would say that there is a need to share. There's definitely a need to share the way you feel about something. And it might not necessarily be well received, but I don't think it's going to be poorly received either. Just because the way that the moon is hitting you, Aquarius, it's in sextile with your ascendant, sun, or moon. So if there's something that comes up and it needs to be address it, share how you feel. And then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon is happening in your second house, which is the house of money. So something involving money is coming to fruition for you, Pisces. It could be that there's a money-related crisis and all of a sudden you have to pay for something, or a bill comes up, or a new expense comes up. But it could also be that money's coming up for you, and that could be a big part of it too. If there is a lot of emotion around money right now, like emotions are running high because of a financial situation or a big purchase that you need to make, just know that the way that you're feeling about it is excessive when it comes to the actual perspective of the objective reality of the situation. So there are things that could come up that are emotionally triggering around money. It doesn't mean that they're bad things. It doesn't mean that something terrible is happening to you. It just means that you feel a certain way about it, regardless of what's happening in the moment. So I don't want you to be scared that something bad's going to happen or you're going to lose all your money. That's not what's happening here. But it's like a bill comes and you have to pay it, or you're finally making that big purchase you've been wanting to make and you feel all sorts of things about it. And it's just very, very difficult to rectify. And so that could be a big part of this too. There could also be financial recognition that comes in. There could be a bonus or a payout or unexpected money that comes in for you, or an opportunity to take action on something that brings in money. And this could be a time where your money actually waxes rather than wanes, because this is a full moon energy. If there is something that's going in the opposite direction, it's not as bad as you think. But I really feel like this is more about like having to make a big purchase or money coming in, but there's like a lot of emotion tied to it. And so that's what's going on for Pisces. Okay, that is my forecast for all 12 signs. And as I promised you, I'm going to give you a short little preview of what's going on the 21st of October, which is when we have the new moon at 28 degrees in the sign of Libra. This is an interesting one because it involves a T-square with Chiron and Jupiter, which is exalted in the sign of Cancer. But this Chiron-Jupiter square came exact in September. And so if mid-September was a little challenging, a little dicey for you, if you had a lot of emotions coming up around that time or things that were very triggering, then this could be reminiscent of that. But this could also be a new beginning or a reset that comes out of a tricky situation or a dicey situation that first came about, again, mid-September, around the time of that Jupiter-Chiron square. And so it's not all bad. It's kind of like something happened and it's being re-triggered again, emotionally, psychologically, maybe not physically. But there's also this reset that's happening where it's like, okay, okay, this happened and now I need to start fresh. Now I need to do something with it. Now I need to see something better out of this situation. And that's going to be the challenge of this new moon. So toward the end of the month, we actually have a grand water trine happening as Mars in the sign of Scorpio starts to make a really nice trine with Jupiter and with Saturn. And so this is a huge motivating force, a huge motivating factor. I actually really like this energy because Jupiter is exalted, Mars is in its home sign. Saturn's just, it's not necessarily in a good or bad position. It doesn't love to be in Pisces, but it's not the worst thing in the world. At least it's not in Aries where it's at its fall right now. That is its own situation. But this is a time where opportunities are going to be coming up for us. And I think one of the things with this full moon, because it is in the T-square with Chiron and with Jupiter, one of the things with this full moon is that we needed to go through something, or we needed to deal with a really challenging situation, at least emotionally and psychologically, some sort of wound or rewounding or dredging up of old wounds that we had to deal with, that we need to heal through in order to take advantage of the opportunities that are coming through this grand trine, because Jupiter is bringing something and Mars is motivating us to really focus and double down and take action on it, and Saturn's giving us the staying power to see it through. And so I like the second half of this month, even though that new moon is doing some weirdness. It's not the worst thing I've seen, and certainly in the midst of everything else that's going on, I think it's going to feel like a reprieve. So that's what's happening. I'm going to have that forecast out for you in just 2 weeks. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like it, subscribe to my channel, comment below and let me know how things are going for you with the supermoon and throughout the month, and share this video with a friend if you feel like they can benefit from the information I shared with you today. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.